Good afternoon and welcome to Jumpstart's monthly expert-led webinar today with Matthew Adkins from Edible Arrangements on accelerating growth with franchising. I'm Lauren Smith-Petta and I serve as Jumpstart's Director of Education. We offer this webinar series on a different topic every month, along with a variety of other educational programs and events. Visit our website to explore some of our other educational opportunities for small businesses and tech companies. Before I formally introduce our presenter today, a few housekeeping items. This presentation session will be 60 to 90 minutes with time set aside for Q&A. In your toolbar, you should be able to see an important communication tool at your disposal today, the chat. Matt may ask you to participate throughout, so please place your comments there. You're also welcome to introduce yourself at any time in the chat. You can also see the Q&A, which is a great place to put your questions as they occur to you. At the end of today's session and in a follow-up email, you will receive a brief survey. We appreciate your feedback. It allows us to continue to bring in experts and entrepreneurs to teach valuable lessons. All right, without further ado, allow me to introduce our presenting subject matter expert today. Matthew is a 20-year veteran in the franchise space who built a 9-store enterprise in the Cleveland area beginning in 2003. He was the 8th store nationally and a 2-time MUO, multi-unit owner, award winner of the year. He was the recipient of the Golden Pineapple Award for sales and performance under pressure during COVID. His stores ranked in the top 10 nationally, 5 years running, and was a training store for the Cleveland market early on. He and his wife, Jessica, have 4 children and reside in Avon, Ohio. Matthew, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Lauren, for that warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm extremely excited to be here. I was extremely excited to get the invitation from Jumpstart until Lauren said it was Zoom. I'm not a fan of Zoom. I like to talk with my hands. I like to look at people in the eye. I'm looking at I don't even know where the camera is. I don't even know where you're supposed to look most of the time. Apparently you're supposed to wear pajama bottoms on the bottom and professional on top. I can't do that either. So we're going to get through this. It'll be great. I'm glad everyone is here. I'm excited to share my knowledge with everybody. So let's go. So again, my name is Matt Adkins, and I'll be your tour guide today. Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times. We're going on a ride, right? This has been a journey and a ride of ups and downs. And so, what better place? I can't think of a better place to align yourself with the folks over at Jumpstart. I want to thank Jumpstart, Lauren, and everyone for having me today, giving me the opportunity to kind of share my knowledge with you. For 20 years running, this remarkable organization has really been the driving force behind economic development, sustainability, and growth for small businesses like yourself. They've been a sounding board and a catalyst for emerging brands and really the ecosystem for support and development through carefully cultivated collaborations. It's a tongue twister. Carefully cultivated collaborations and really uniquely crafted educational programs like this webinar that, get this, they've accounted for 13.3 billion in economic output. That's a golf clap. That's amazing. That's amazing work. It's an amazing achievement. It just shows the impact that Jumpstart has in the community, and just the tireless effort that they put in making your dreams come true. They're also, their work has paved the way for over 7,400 diverse businesses looking to scale and really become more than they've ever dreamed. So I just want to I want everyone to take a quick moment to just kind of reflect on your journey. It's one riddled with ups and downs, uncertainty, fear, adversity, you name it. You've been a part of it and you feel it. Your success has been predicated upon just that relentless and tireless effort, and never saying no, and never being defeated. It's just it's in your DNA. So look, you've all done the heavy lifting, and you've survived the time pendulum where most businesses really go to die. I just came across this interesting stat. It read that 30% of businesses fail within the first 2 years. Something like 50% fail years 3 to 5, and then an astounding 66% fail years 7 through 10. Now, of course, I'm not saying this to scare you or to detour you, but it just shows you how hard this is. Anything that's worthwhile is never easy. So my goal today is to explore these questions and the many others that you may have, in order to provide some insight and perspective into the franchise space as you move forward, and grow. There's so many components of franchising. I mean, I could have a series on just one portion of a grand opening. But there's so many elements. My plan is to just kind of touch on a few of the crucial ones, and then we'll kind of go from there. It's a flyby. Also, I want everyone to know that there's no perfect formula for this. There's no perfect template. Everyone here has a different product. They have a different service that they bring to the table. So naturally, everyone's approach is going to be different, and it's going to be unique to your space. However, your foundation is key. It's crucial. You're going to hear that word a lot, but it's you're going to stumble along the way. You're going to make mistakes. It's normal, and it's a part of the game, and it's part of the learning curve and the process. Um, Really, all you need to bring to the table is the same grit and passion that's gotten you to this point, and you'll be fine. I mean, what are we talking about? I can regurgitate industry stats, but that's not what today is about. It's more about um, helping you tool yourself with the resources like the folks from Jumpstart, someone like myself, to really bring you what you need. Um, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with too. I firmly believe this. And we really want to make that count and make them count. Today we'll be exploring the steps of franchising. I'll introduce you to some industry experts. I have some interviews at the end. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to it, but a gentleman from Complete Pest Solutions, Anthony Farrell. I did a Zoom interview with him and asked him a few questions. I have the manuscript on here, and he kind of answers candidly, which I think will give you some really good insight, aside from my perspective. Also, going to present some case studies that I think you might find interesting. You're well aware of the brands, but again, it just provides some extra insight for you. Um, so my journey it's very similar to yours. It encompasses that same entrepreneurial spirit, and the new ideas, and alternative ways to solve old problems with this like grandiose plan of burgeoning on the new, the next big thing. I've always wanted to have my own business. I've always wanted to be my own boss, and franchising was really the conduit to do this. Over 1/3 of businesses and business-minded people like yourself would not be able to achieve or pursue this passion without the franchising landscape. So, and just to give you an idea of what the landscape looks like, just a couple facts and figures here. There are over 806 plus thousand franchise establishments nationwide that provide 8.7 million in jobs, with an economic output of 858.5 billion, and a 3% GDP. That's a big fish for all of us small, or that's a big pond for all of us small fish to be swimming in. But that's okay. That's why we're here. This is the journey we're on, and if we want to scale, we have to jump in, right? Um, I mean, what are we afraid of? Water's warm, jump in, no idea what we're doing. It'll be okay, I promise. So back to me. So 99, I was in corporate America. I was working at a bank. '01 comes around. I this entrepreneurial spirit's coming out, and I stumble upon Edible. Um, they're kind of just in the early stages of growth. Tarek Farid, he was running a floral shop with his parents. He asked them for some money. They branched off and opened a couple more shops. And along the way, he came up with this just idea of merging fruit and flowers, and edible arrangements. It was born really. Um, it took a bit, but after a while, it gained traction, and they're like, we can do something with this. So he started franchising them. I inquired in '99, was that's when they started, but in 2001 I inquired, and they they invited me to what's called a discovery day. You take a visit to the corporate office, and so I drove up to Connecticut. Um, and I was sold day one. The product, the system, the services, them. They just knew what they were talking about. And it really gave me confidence in the product and in their leadership and support. So I was in. And ultimately, this is what you guys are going to be doing. You're going to be forming these partnerships and building relationships, and you're trying to breed confidence through your business acumen, your ability to communicate effectively, and your delegation. Delegation in all of this, especially as you grow, is key. You cannot do it all as much as you want to. You just can't do it all. So you really have to focus on your strengths, and then turn everything over to your team and let them run with it. You come up with initiatives, give them a framework of how you want things to run, and then you go, and then you focus on what you do best, whatever that may be: sales, the management side of things, whatever that is, that's what you focus on. um, so I digress. So I signed on with Edible 2003. I was the eighth store in the franchise that would grow to over 1,300 units. So I got in at ground level. I mean, we were working out of binders. We didn't have any of this technology. We didn't have Zoom. Um, Tarek, the founder and CEO, he was at my store running the IT, the wires. They were mopping my floors. These are things that you will do. And again, it's to build a relationship, because ultimately these are your partners, and this is what these people are. These partners, it's what's going to make you successful in the long run. Um, so as we get into the slides, I've attached an addendum that highlights you know where I started, and how my journey and what it looked like. And just some I also have a secondary thing. It kind of shows the efficiencies and things that I developed, these streamlined protocols and procedures along the way, that would help me run my MUO. And of course, MUO is a multi-unit owner. Um, this too is very important to your success. Your partners need to know that you have a solid foundation. It's clear, concise, it's organized, and most importantly, it's executable. Um, Remember the word foundation, as I mentioned earlier. It's key. So with no further ado, let's jump into this. Get this nifty remote to change things. So the franchise model, accelerating growth. Um, so I believe, as Lauren mentioned, we'll have a Q&A, and if something pops up along the way and someone has a question, we can throw it out there and I can touch on it. I'd like to make this as engaging as possible, so that I know sometimes when I have questions during these things, I forget them or I write them down, and they're the moment's lost. So feel free to do that, and we'll monitor, and we'll kind of go from there. So the franchise model, accelerating growth. Um, if you have a dream, you can spend a lifetime studying, planning, and getting ready for it. What you should be doing is getting started. This is Drew Houston. He is the founder of a company called Dropbox, which is an IT kind of a support and online storage place. Mr. Drew Houston is worth $2.2 billion dollars. Um, that's what we're striving for. We're striving to succeed and to grow. It's not always all about the money. It's watching our product and becoming a beloved brand, and having a slew of brand ambassadors out there working for one common goal. Um, So here's that timeline that I was talking about. This is the edible arrangements, this day in history of an MUO. So you see, back in 03, I was the eighth store in the franchise, the first store in Ohio. Lakewood was central headquarters. About 5 months in, we saw that this really had some traction and could be lucrative. So we signed on for a secondary store, and we moved it east to Lyndhurst. This was really a strategic move to kind of start building a perimeter out east to kind of keep competition at bay. It's kind of at this point that we decided, you know what, we've got something here. So let's just monopolize this territory and own the whole thing. So that was our goal early on. Um, as you can see, there's a little bit of a lull here from '04 to '09. Here, what we were doing is, first of all, this timeline, it represents, and really what it should do, I hope, is it quells your fears on expansion and how to do it, and really relinquishing control to a partner that you have no clue about. You don't know them. You vet them, of course, but you're entrusting your baby with them. And so this kind of shows you that, and I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but I'm the type of franchisee you want. I wanted my own business. I wanted to grow, and this was my plan. This is my goal, and this is how I did it. And these are the people that you want in your system. You want brand ambassadors who are going to do this very same thing and have really the same passion that you do. So from 2005 to 2009, there was this pause, and what was going on is some other players entered the territory. I had Twinsburg, I had Independence, and I had Menor come into the queue, which it was good and bad. Sometimes it was competitive, and sometimes there was a partnership there where we were able to build out a marketing co-op, which really streamlined our marketing message. It helped us get out to the masses, and it saved us money. So it was good and bad. Um, Another thing that we were doing from in this time period, we were really establishing our core values, we were refining our production, we were our operational efficiencies, all those means of doing business and how the flow is going to go. It's all about efficiency, and it's having a template so that you can replicate it. That's what franchising is. You're replicating a template that's been successful. Um, it was also at this point where I realized we're 3 stores in, or we're 2 stores in. We need this streamlined system to kind of get us over the edge, so that I'm not so focused on the color of the cantaloupes or the pineapples. Those aren't things that you should be focused on. It should be, how do I grow? How do I support my franchisees? How do I support the people in my stores? Um, and really, so that any with 2 stores, I could share resources where I had employees that could jump in at any store and know exactly what the other person, where they left off, and what needs to be done next, really. This is exactly what you need to expand. So 2009, we sign on with Edible, our 3rd store. This is where we established a western perimeter outside of Lakewood to kind of keep competition at a bay. Uh, Another law, again, we're refining, we're adapting. I think at this point I bring on a GM. I do. I bring on a GM. Um, Middleburg is really brought in to support Lakewood and support the volume and kind of spread it out so that we're not too thin. We were holiday driven, so 20% of our revenue came from holidays, your Christmas, your Mother's Day, and then your ancillary holidays, 4th of July and whatnot. You need good people to be able to run and orchestrate a holiday like that, especially one that's accounting for 20% of your annual income. That's a lot. So I established a GM team. We established audit protocols to make sure that everything's fine-tuned and running, without micromanaging. 2013 rolls around. There's an M&A opportunity here, so I acquire a pre-existing store in Brunswick. This allows me to build out a southern perimeter and really, again, to curb and keep competition at bay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 5 at this point. GM team is on a rotational basis. Each of these territories is completely different. The economics of each territory, the customer base, everything is different. So it's important that my team is familiar with those intricacies, and they're able to kind of sift through it and manage properly. Um, Skip ahead another year, we decided to sign on to um, another store in the east side. We move back east. We go to Cleveland Heights. It's about 5 miles away from Lyndhurst. This is to support Lyndhurst. The volume is astronomical. People have really caught on, and it's it's growing. The growth is great for us. People are starting to get this though. This was crazy to me and still is to think about today. So from 2003 to 2014, we were still getting phone calls from people saying, "I can't even believe that I've never seen your product before," which is amazing. We're around 11 years. So that just goes to show the time it takes for brand recognition, and to really build this your exposure up. Um, so 2014 comes and goes. We have that support in Lyndhurst. We have an eastern perimeter, a southern perimeter, a western perimeter. The lake is protecting us from our Canuck friends. And then 2015 is a huge year for me. I have another M&A deal with Independence in Twinsburg. I buy those, and at the same time, I build out the downtown Cleveland store, which is like Cleveland proper, where we take advantage of the downtown, the foot traffic. Edible is starting to roll out some initiatives to draw foot traffic in, and we figure that this is a great place to go. Um, do have a little bit of concerns because it's also at this time where the corporate office is kind of throwing down our throats some initiatives. We'll get into that later and how that kind of factors into some of these case studies. But this is what my timeline looked like, my growth. Uh-oh, why is that not working? Okay. So I'm having some technical difficulty with my remote here. Bear with me.
Matthew, you could also try the space bar or the arrows if
Yeah,
the
I'm looking at
remote
the
is not
arrows. The arrows are
cooperating.
kind of damn really. Here they are. Okay. Let's okay, there we go. Now it's working, of course. Okay. So here's a look at just the hotbeds in franchising, just kind of breaks it down regionally across the country. So if you see the Southeast, the South is the most saturated with franchise models. Why is that? Basically, a lot of people are migrating south. They're moving, and so that kind of opens a door for these businesses to sprout up. After that, you kind of move into the Midwest, which is where we're at, which is nice. Ohio is a part of that. Then you go out west, and then you have the Northeast and Southwest, of course. Kind of shows you the employment, the establishments that are there, and then the economic output. So franchising, I mentioned that there are these formats. What are the formats in franchising? There's a whole slew of them. Let's go through some of them. So business lines. So there's accounting service. So H&R Block. I don't know if you know, but that is a franchise. Insurance, business consulting. I think I skipped a couple things, didn't I? I did. Here we go. So back to this really quick, the leveraging your mindset in the franchise landscape. Again, I went through this, but I wanted you to see the market composition. So there's 806 plus franchise establishments, 8.7 million jobs, 858.5 billion in economic output, and a 3% GDP. This represents over 300 different categories. So what are those categories? What are the formats? This is what they are. So back to beneath H&R Block, you've got your financial services, your computer products, your mailing and packaging products, printing and shipping. So your UPS stores, those are franchised. Advertising, promotions, security services, business-focused publications, commercial and residential services. So your maintenance services, ServPro, building and construction, lodging. So hotels, Wyndham. You can see here, Wyndham has a whole hotel group of different hotels that are different price points for different customers, which I think is brilliant. These are different revenue streams, which we'll get into as well, revenue streams. Your B&Bs, your resorts, your hotels, your motels. Red Roof Inn, that's a franchise. I never knew that until 5, 10 years ago, which is crazy. Um, Personal services, so beauty, health, and fitness. There's a local franchise called VO Med Spa. They do Botox and different skin and different therapies. They have about 30 strong, and they're across the United States as well. They're growing tremendously. Storage and moving, U-Haul, that's a franchise. Educational and childcare services. Their Goddard School is kind of a mix of both education and childcare. Your sports and recreation. I have 4 children, and we all of our kids play sports, and T3 is an outlet where they play AAU, and there's basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball. Um, I really should have a minority stake with the money that I put into this place, but sports and recreation. T3 is a phenomenal example of revenue streams. Again, soccer, baseball. They have camps. They have training modules. It's amazing. So that when one thing isn't working, they have another thing to lean on. Or when one season isn't around, they have another streamlined revenue to go through. Pets and travel. So your quick service restaurants, your QSRs, these are limited service restaurants that serve meals at lower price points and typically provide fast service, a limited menu, and limited table service and accommodations. So as you can see, your Wendy's, your Jersey Mike's, McDonald's, Taco Bell. Real estate, brokerage services, Keller Williams, they are a franchise. You can get your real estate license and you can own a Keller Williams. Um, Residential property managers, property inspection, non-residential property managers. So that's your commercial side. Your retail food, products, services. So food and beverage, convenience stores, beer, liquor, wine stores. So your 7-Eleven, food service contractors, caterers, retail bakers, gas stations, Travel Centers of America. They have both corporate and franchises throughout the United States. Motor vehicle parts stores, automotive repair, your furniture, your home furnishing, Radio Shack, electronics. I don't even know if Radio Shack is around anymore. I doubt it, but they are a franchise. Building and garden supplies, beauty supply or supplements, health supplements, GNC. It's a franchise. Table and full service restaurants. So this category offers table service with 3 categories of establishments: your fine dining, your casual dining, and your mid-scale. I've just listed 2 here. So B-dubs would be considered your casual dining, and then a Longhorn would be kind of a mid-scale, mid-range establishment. So the franchise blueprint, again, what does that look like? What are the costs? What are the procedures? What does it look like? So a franchise, it's a type of agreement that looks to reproduce or replicate a business model using multiple locations. The business owner establishes guidelines that provide comprehensive terms on how the franchise will operate and is a catalyst for, there you go, foundational growth. Um, they've established, proven, streamlined procedures and protocols. This is what you need. You need to breed confidence with your partners. Revenue streams. We're going to get into this later. This oftentimes gets overlooked for people that are nervous to get into the space or just apprehensive. I mean, how can Cookie Crumble have X amount of franchises with just cookies? It's revenue streams. They have which is like diversified financial vehicles that promote growth, customer reach, and sustainability. So what are the steps to franchising moving forward? There are a bunch, but what makes you and your product, your service stand out from that 806 plus thousand? I mean, is it your product? Is it your systems? Is it your business lines? Your people, that's a must. You need good people. You got to surround yourself with good people and a good team. Ask Lauren and all the folks over at Jumpstart. Your supply chain, maybe vendor relations. Um, are you profitable? The single most important thing in this process or in your business is profitability. if you're not profitable, how can you expect a partner, or why would someone want to come in and join? Are you the three questions you would ask yourself on profitability is, are you generating enough cash to service your debt? Uh, can you still make some money on the side to support your family and your lifestyle? And thirdly, can you grow? Do you have capital? Is this profitable enough to enable you to grow? Kind of like me, and grow from one to 9 stores. Funding. Do you have capital? Do you have access to capital to grow? It takes money to make money, whether that be private money, whether it be um, you know an SBA loan. You're going to need funding to grow. Have I built a strong, organized operational system with these built-in protocols and processes that I just keep pounding on? And really ones that procure efficiency. You need to be efficient. Um, can I sell and market? Does your logo sell? Does your brand, is it marketable? Do people know about you? That's something that's important. Here's a huge one too. Can I let go and manage, delegate, support, and teach my future prospects to become brand ambassadors, uh, helping me to leverage future growth and expansion? At some point, you got to let go and just trust what you've done is enough, and then you run with it. Again, there's no perfect formula. There's no perfect format. You're gonna stumble along the way, but as long as you have this foundation, you'll be fine. All these things are really the true serum for highlighting your strengths and weaknesses within your business. Secondly, the second step, protecting your IP, your intellectual property. What is intellectual property? Well, it's work or invention that is a result of creativity, such as a manuscript, a design, um, you know, to which one has rights and for which one may apply for a patent, a copyright, or a trademark. Edible Arrangements has 19 trademarks. Um, you know, I'm sure you've seen the TM and the R. For those of you who don't know, they're both trademark symbols. Um, they both allow your partners to utilize these for advertising, for building your brand and in your path. The R is registered. It's registered with the USPTO, the Patent and Trade Office, and it really gives you a lot more legal support. So franchisee use of IP creates a lane for them to brand their business according to the guidelines that you set forth, and a lane for you to build brand exposure and grow your footprint wherever you can, in whatever territory and whatever market. Um, so IPs, some intellectual property, your patents, your copyrights. Um, what is this? It could be machines, it could be molds, it could be dyes. Edible Arrangements had 44, and it's still growing as they, come out with new ideas and new ways to do business. In 2003, we were cutting all of our fruit by hand with a French fry cutter. And when you're doing 27% of um, your business on a Mother's Day and you're cutting with your hand with a French fryer, it's not good. It's not good. So they luckily came up with machines to cut the fruit. We could mass produce. It made things more efficient. It cut down on our labor. So these are things that you'll be exploring as you go through this journey to just make things optimal. Um, Proprietary information, it kind of falls in patents and copyrights. How you do things. We had instruction boards on how to design each arrangement, and how many pieces of fruit went into each arrangement and how much it served. All of this stuff is proprietary information that kind of goes with your IP. And of course your IT, your POS configurations. So Edible Arrangements was brilliant. If you ask me, and I'm biased obviously because I had a successful 20-year run with them, but they had Net Solace, and Net Solace was their IT, which they implemented in every store. So we used their their IT and their POS system to run all the thing. This is another revenue stream. There is support, there's equipment that the corporate office collected from each individual franchisee on a monthly basis. And whenever they needed a product, whenever they needed things repaired, this is what it was for. Step three, the franchise disclosure document, the FDD. You're going to hear a lot about this. This is the Bible. This is your Bible. This is your framework on how your business will run, providing you protections and oversight on everything. This will answer everyone's questions. Um, this is expensive. You have to do it right. You only want to do this once, but it is expensive, but it's worth it. Um, so, the FDD, it's a central governing document of your business model that outlines operating systems, financial statements, key players in the business, along with several other important obligations of your franchise agreement. The FTC mandates that all franchisees furnish an FDD that complies with FTC rules and regulations before you sell a franchise. You cannot do anything without an FDD. And in some cases, um, it's a little bit more involved. So there are 14 registration states with the FTC that require fee payment and FDD submission for review, where the FTC will do a deep dive to make sure that you're following guidelines and everything that's supposed to be in it is in it.
Hey,
I
Matthew. We had a
yes,
really good question come in that is relevant to FDD.
yes.
Someone said, if you know, ballpark, how much is the FDD setup cost?
Great question. Um, Remember this. My dad always told me this. You get what you pay for. You do not want to skimp on an FDD. Again, it's a very involved process which can sometimes take months to develop. You'll most likely want to get a franchise attorney who is well versed in doing this that can assist and ask you questions on how you want your system set up going forward. The cost can range anywhere from 20,000 to 100,000. I know it seems like a lot, but um, when you're building your foundation, you don't want to build it on sand. You want to build it on solid ground, and this is what your FTD does for you. Another one?
No, he
Okay.
just said thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I see the screen come up and down. Um, so there are 14 states that require the registration: California, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. There are also 9 filing states that only require submission of a filing form: Connecticut, Florida, Kentucky, Maine, New England, the Carolinas, Texas, and Utah. Ohio is considered a non-registration state and does not have registration or filing requirements, which is nice. You don't have to go into the deep dive. Your FTD just needs to adhere to FTC guidelines, and it needs approval. Again, if you have a good attorney, they'll guide you through this process, and you'll have no issues. What are the sections of an FDD? There's 23 of them. I'm not going to go into full detail of each because again, we could go through a whole series of each section, but I'll just touch on each of them. If anyone has any questions about them, feel free to jump in. But these are the 23. So of course you need your franchisor, the names that describes the franchisor, any parents, predecessors, affiliates, associated, the business experience. This is huge. You want to know who you're getting in bed with. You want to know who you're partnering with. You really need to know how good they are at what they do. Um, so this is key. Litigation. This discloses any past and present issues that they have had. Which again, you'll know this. You you want them to know. You want to be transparent with your partners so that they know everything that's going on. This is unavoidable. It's going to happen. You can't please everyone, and it's just a part of the game. Again, having a good team around you, a good attorney, a good counsel in your system is huge. Bankruptcy, any details of bankruptcy filed, your initial fees. FDD is going to explore initial fees, disclosure of upfront costs, your franchisee, the fee, support, training, franchise fees. What do they go for? They're anywhere between 4% and 6%. Edible, I was paying 5%. Your support and training, sometimes this is a percentage, sometimes it's an annual cost. Sometimes it comes out of your monthly sales. It just depends. And again, you set this up, you cater it to your needs and how you want this to look. Other fees, recurring costs. So, the royalties, I think I just mentioned. um, Advertising, NAF. What is an NAF? NAF is a National Advertising Fund. Edible Arrangements, we had a $30 million national advertising fund. That's a lot of money, but when you have 1,300 franchise partners, you have some money to play with there. Um, your IT support, as I mentioned earlier, NetSolace, they supported all of our systems. I believe we paid a yearly on that, but these are some of those recurring costs. Your initial investment, your startup costs, your equipment, your affiliations. Um, I mean, you guys, I'm sure you have a little bit of experience with this, your startup costs, and I mean, you should, from equipment to your food costs, from your services and your onboarding, your all of that. This is all listed in this FDD. Restrictions on sources of products and services that you can offer. I cannot tell you how many times people wanted to send wine with their edible arrangement, and I'm like, listen, we're not a wine and beverage, and that's a liability to me. And further, and this is something you should write down, you do not want to compromise the integrity of your product. Compromise the integrity of your product because this is who you are. This is what people know you by. And if you start engaging in different things like that, A, there's liabilities, and B, you're kind of going off what your plan is. So you want to be careful with that. Uh, your franchise obligations. These are agreed upon legal obligations by your franchisee. An example of this is something as simple as Matt, you own the Lyndhurst territory and you have zip codes. You have Lyndhurst 44124. You have Beechwood 44122, and you have Cleveland Heights 44120. That is a franchise obligation. Another one is uh, you have to be open Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. Franchise obligation. Financing. Financing and payment terms offered to the franchisee. This just tells how you're going to pay your royalties, where they're going to come from, how they're going to come out, things of that nature. Assistance with advertising, computer systems, and training. This outlines all the assistance that you are going to give your partners. Um, they need to know this. They're going to have questions. They're going to know how you're going to support them. And this is all outlined in here. As I just mentioned in franchise obligations, your territory, you're going to have, this notes exclusive, non-exclusive, and really guards against how, oversaturation. I have cannibalization there. If you have too many stores, too many brick and mortar in a given concentrated area, it's bad for business. It's good for exposure, but it's bad for sales. It creates unwanted competition amongst your partners, your franchisees. Um, so you have to be very careful about this. I apologize for the water. My wife took my gum this morning and I have a dry throat. Okay, so trademarks. Let me go back there. Yeah. Trademarks. This outlines the usage of your terms for how they use your name, your logo, and on all their branding elements. Again, we talked about patents, copyrights, describes just the rights and access that they have to your IP. uh, Obligation to participate in actual operation of franchise business. This details the operations that franchisees must actively take part in business operations. This is dynamically huge. You have two types of operators. You have the quiet, uh, the quiet partner who just buys it for his wife and steps away, and it's her toy. And then you have someone who is the workhorse behind the business, and who is this was me. I was the workhorse. I established all those foundational things, knowing that I was growing or I wanted to grow, and so I had to be there morning till night. And look, I know none of you are faux to this. Everyone knows this. I mean, you're here because of that. You were here, the sleepless nights, the blood, the sweat, the tears. You want a partner that's going to be there. So when you're vetting your partners, I mean, you list this in the FDA, they have to be on, they have to be present. This is huge. Restrictions on what franchisee can sell. Kind of talked about this. You don't want them selling wine out of your fruit shop. It's a bad look. Um, if you're a taco place and you don't sell burritos, your franchisee partner shouldn't come up with like their own burrito to be selling. It's again, it compromises the integrity of your brand, and you want to make sure that you have a streamlined products and systems. Um, Renewal, termination, transfer, dispute resolution. This outlines any terms in the event that you have or arbitration is required or you have disagreements. You're going to have a lot of disagreements, but as long as you're transparent, everything and how to handle this is in this FDD. Again, the FDD is you. This is your game, and you're inviting these people to play your game, and it outlines all the rules of how to play the game. So these things are very important. And that's the cost. This is what you're paying for. Again, you get what you pay for. Um, if you're paying for a Datsun, you can't expect a, a Cadillac engine underneath the hood. So you have to make sure you spend the money and you have the right person doing that for you. Public figures. This notes any celebrities or otherwise recognizable figures involved with the franchise. A great example of this, which I'm sure you've all seen recently, is Papa John's and Shaq. Shaq was 2019, or I think a little bit before 2019. He had like 50 franchises with Papa John's. Papa John got in a little bit of trouble, and so I think Shaq stepped up to the plate and said, "I'll be the face." Shaq was the face. He's now he's a board member, and the Papa John's has taken a turn. They pivoted, and they're in they've gone in a positive direction. Was there a question, Lauren? No.
Sorry, I was unmuting myself.
Oh,
So Aaron asked, do I need to actually have a team or can I prove the concept and SOPs as I am the main operator of the business before franchising?
that's a great question. No man is an island. You can prove your concept. However, again, it goes back to profitability and it goes back to delegation. The delegation, again, you need people. You don't necessarily need to hire people to be on your team. But when I say team, I think of it as you have an attorney that's on retainer that you can tap into, or you have um, your accountant who can look over your numbers and say, okay, listen, your cash flow is great. Your expenses are way too high. Your labor is too high. I know you can do all that as owners. You should know your business front and back. But a team is again, it's going to allow you to delegate some of these things so that you can grow. Because you know this already. Everyone on the webinar, you get pulled in so many different directions at so many different points. You don't want to miss something. You don't want to miss a crucial detail while you're growing. So you need a team. It makes health. You can do it by yourself in some sense, but a team is highly recommended. Um, Financial performance and representations. This just details franchisee sales, earnings, and expenses. Another question?
He just thanked you.
Okay. Um, Outlets and franchise information. This lists current and former franchisees in the past 12 months, people that have exited, along with their contact information and other franchisee stats. This is very helpful to franchisees and to your partners. They can always reach out. Again, if you should have nothing to hide. People are going to come and go in and out of your system, and it's nice for them to have to reach out to other franchisees and discuss problems and really build. That's a team too. It's a team within itself. I found I gained a lot of good friends along the way in different states, and it helped me through a lot of tough times and tough decisions. Financial statements. This gathers audited financial statements to provide franchisees with transparency. Again, Transparency is key. You don't want to hide anything. The FTC really doesn't let you hide anything, but um, hiding things breaks trust, and it just leads to a path you don't want to go down. Contracts. This includes any signed contracts related to the franchise agreement, leases. Um, I believe. No, that's not it. Next. Lastly, your receipts. This section serves as proof that that the franchisor provided an FDD to your partner, to your prospective franchisee. There are two mandates that the FTC has. One is that you give the FDD at least 2 weeks before signing, so that your prospect needs to have that document 2 weeks before actually signing an agreement. And then the second thing is you have to update your FDD annually. Some things may go out of date, and you may want to make just a couple changes that you've seen that may benefit your franchisees and benefit your position going forward. This is a living document within that keeps the franchisees really informed and just current. The franchise agreement. Are we scared yet? We're only 4 into the steps. These are all formalities. Again, this is the framework. This is the skeleton of going out and blowing up your concept and your idea. Um, so the franchise agreement. This is a binding contract between you and your franchisee. Uh, to certain expectations, and it will define how you operate. Um, the franchisee, your partners are considered independent contractors. They are not employees. They must sign this contract to kind of align with the rules and the regulations that you set forth. Again, once it's signed, it lives within the FDD. It's just a kind of an addendum to the FDD. The agreement does not have a regulated format, so there's no specific way you need to do this, but its contents need to be clear and concise, organized. Um, and again, I alluded earlier, a good franchise attorney is going to assist you. You're going to go to the FDD, and then you're going to go right into a franchise agreement and how you want that to look and how you want your franchisees to operate. Some of the things I have included them all, but a franchise agreement with Edible was it had 24 sections, and within each one of those sections um, was detail on how to operate. So your renewal terms, good topic. 5, 7, 10. That's your decision. It depends on, the longer out, the less liability for you. I was in a 10-year. I didn't like 10 years. It's a long time, especially if at 10 years you want to renew. Renewing for another 10 years, which is what I did, that's scary as a franchisee because you don't know where things are going to go. But those are options that you put in this agreement. Your franchise fees, again, 4 to 6% usually. Termination terms, how you terminate your relationship with them, your territories, how you're going to split your territories up. What do you want that to look like? Are you going to have exclusives? When I came into the system, I had 500,000 people at my disposal. That's a lot of people, which, it's a lot of people to manage. Sometimes that's too big. So over time, they broke that down. Within that territory, I had protected zip codes, which no one could come in and deliver to, which was huge for me. It gave me confidence, and I could put my head down at night knowing that people aren't stealing business from me. Opening timelines. Typically, I mean, traditionally you have around 270 days, so what's that, 9 months to open. Your franchise from the day you sign until your grand opening and your ribbon cutting. Your non-compete agreements. What's a non-compete? A non-compete is typically a 2-year agreement that says that you're not going to go open up. I'm not going to go open up Matt's um, fruit bouquets and compete with them. Again, typically it's a 2-year non-compete that you sign, and they don't want people coming in and saying, "Oh, I have a really great idea. I could do this. I could." We had a lot of these poachers really come in when we opened Lakewood, copycats, if you will, who were doing these arrangements out of their house and their homes. They just couldn't compete with our organized our system, again, the foundation, they could not compete. We put them out of business. We just had the capacity and the know-how to do it and to optimize it. So you'll see that dispute resolution dispute resolution guidelines, sales requirements, rules of transfer. This is kind of what, again, the ends of a franchise agreement or creation of one. Your ops manual. This basically tells you how you're going to run your day-to-day business. This is not a legal binding agreement. It's also considered confidential. It's digital and it's changeable. Confidential. This goes into that proprietary information on where you put your pineapple daisy in the arrangement, which differs from anyone else and sets you apart really. Your franchisees and your partners, they're going to just use this as a baseline. You may, have an FBC, which it's called a franchise business consultant as you grow, that kind of goes out and audits your stores. They're going to come in and they're going to see like the franchisee doing things completely different from your operating agreement. It's okay. I did that. A smart franchisee will do that because again, they're in this to make money. They want to optimize the bottom line. And as long as they're adhering to the FDD and the franchise agreement and they're not breaking any rules, let them do it. And if it's bringing money and the sales are good, their cash flow's good, it's okay. Some things you have to be flexible on. Six, the goals, the sales goals, and your lead generation. How are you going to get franchisees? How are you going to get prospects? There's tons of ways to do it. I'm not going to get into that, but some models or some things that people have done, giving referral bonuses to people who send qualified franchise applicants. You can do strategic marketing. When we first started out, we were in on airplanes. They have that I forget what it's called, but it's like a shop online, shop on the airplane magazine. My wife loved it. Um, we were in there and we got a lot of huge hits from that. People inquiring about opening a franchise because they saw it. And really, another good thing is hiring salespeople that are familiar with your story, that know your story, that know you, that you're comfortable with, that can talk with people, that can sell. So the pros of franchising. These are the things that kind of stuck out to me, that I kind of gained over the years. The passive income is great. You don't always have to be there. Your franchise fees, your other payment lines, they offer these potential revenue streams without your active involvement, which it's great. You have so many different fish to fry and you're pulled, like I said, in so many different directions that this this is great. Passive income is phenomenal. Um, you're scalable. New franchisees mean new markets and the ability to increase your clientele, leading to higher franchise demand. The more markets you're in, the bigger brand exposure and the more credible people you get and the more you're known. Again, 11 years in, I had people calling us, we didn't even know you were around. How is that possible? It's possible. It's again, you got this big pond and we're with these small fish. Um, multi-revenue streams, M, excuse me, MRS. Again, constant innovation can lead to new product development and services that only you can provide. This is huge. We'll get into this in a little bit. So diverse passive income is key to scalability and sustainability. You're typically the woman who asked the question about do I need a team? I mean, honestly, you're running a business. Sometimes you're running a business within a business within a business, and you need people to run these and manage this. So this is another a kind of key point to having a team around you. So the cons of franchising. No one likes this part. Upfront costs. The initial investment, obviously, as I mentioned, 20,000 to 100,000, depending on your products and services. It takes money to make money, so you can't skimp. You have to do this right. Dispute resolution. Um, I would just accept it now. You cannot please everyone. I don't care how big of a politician you are. You just cannot please everyone. You may have to arbitrate. and that's going to cost you money. Again, back to the team. You got to have a good counsel to handle this and to get you out of some sometimes sticky messes that you didn't necessarily create, but you need to get out of, and it'll cost you a little bit money up front. Will cost you less down the road. And then oftentimes too with franchising, and this is really with any business, not just franchising, there's a slow profit timeline. I mean, this can be an expensive endeavor and can take you years to turn a profit. I mean, 3 years is usually that magic number where they say businesses are going to fail or succeed. I gave you those stats. 2 years, 30% of people fail. But again, it could be slow. So you're you're not foe to the grind, and this is just one of those cons. You're gonna have to work through it. All right, my favorite. This is my favorite part. This is like it's money. This is where you make money. This is how you branch out. This is how you mitigate when times are slow or when product lines or initiatives that you're rolling out aren't working. That taco guy rolling out the burrito's not working. Well, you can fall back to the taco now because you have 17 different tacos, right? This is great. You need to figure out and you need to constantly be innovating. This is just an overview, an example of what it kind of looks like. So you have your corporate office. Your revenue is 1 million. You're serving a population of 250,000, let's say. You're doing great, 1 million. You're like, wow, this is phenomenal. But like all of you want to grow. So you get into franchising. You bring on franchisee number one. His revenue grows to 350. He has a population of 125. He's doing great. He's following rules. You vetted him. It's excellent. Let's go to the second guy. Let's keep doing this. The second guy is a really go-getter. He's got a bigger territory, 300K, and he has revenue of 500K. Awesome. I like it. Let's keep going. Franchise three, 400,000 in revenue, serving 250K. There's no rhyme or reason to don't analyze. Why is 400K? Why is 450? Why is the franchise four making 450 and he has 100 only 150,000 where franchise E3 is making 400 and that's not what I want you to see here. What I want you to see is you've gone from $1 million in revenue to 1.7 million with four other partners who are brand ambassadors who are growing your exposure. They're doing it right. They're obviously doing something right because their sales are strong. Also, another thing that I want you to take notice of is the exposure, the customer base. You went from 200, like an exposure of 250K level to over 1 million people. That's phenomenal. I mean, that's getting your message out there without spending a ton on advertising or without doing this or doing that. These people paid you to basically build your brand, and you're trusting that what you have, your foundation, is working. But 1 million people, that's phenomenal. Um, these people are in your customer communities. They become directly a part of their lives. They become this beloved brand, which is what you're trying to build. Um, I loved hearing people call, oh, we love edible arrangements. We get them all the time. Of course, I look in my system and I would never find their name, but um, people loved us, and it's just great to hear, and that's what you want to hear, and that's why franchising is such a great model. Um, if you're running a tight ship, it's marketable. It has quality product. It breeds expansion. It breeds notoriety, credibility, reputation. So let's look at these franchise streams. This is aside from the 1.7 million. This is on top of that. So you got your franchise fee. Everyone's forking over 25K in a franchise fee. You got 100K coming in annually. You got or just as people open stores. You got your royalties. I set them at 6%, based on the revenue. You got 102K coming in. Your NAF fund is bringing in 51K at 3%. Let's just say distribution. I didn't talk about this, but distribution is another. Kind of like, let's say edible, we did gift baskets, right? So our products had to go into a basket. Well, early on we were using John Henry. Edible, they were a subcontractor or a preferred vendor. Later on, we figured, hey, why don't we make these ourselves and distribute them and make a little bit money? So Berry Direct, which was their manufacturer of baskets, joins the club, and now they're making baskets for us and distributing to all the franchisees and partners. Um, there's cost savings here on your end. There's or on their end, there's revenue for you because you kind of got to up the price there to account for your labor, your manufacturing, all those. So distribution is awesome. There's site assistance, 4,000 in site assistance. That's finding your location, making maybe negotiating a lease if you can't do that, things of that nature. Then there's training, new products. That stuff sometimes is baked into the franchise agreement, or excuse me, the franchise fee. You got your tech support. You got 12,000 coming in from tech support, whatever that may be. Um, your wholesale. This is awesome. So I'm good friends with uh, Tommy Lenahan, who is the owner of Barrio, and he franchised that a few years ago. They have 13 currently, but Barrio wholesale. They have tequila, and they also have what is it? I think maybe their sauce. They're in wholesaling where they're in grocers and they're selling their product. And this is again bringing money back into your system, and you're not even doing anything. Um, Barrio also he mentions how he brings in $1.5 million alone from Costco with gift cards at Christmas. I mean, that's beauty. That's a revenue stream. What are the benefits of revenue stream? As I mentioned, there's risk mitigation. Um, there's predictable cash flow, customer reach, brand exposure. You have a you're a central supplier where you have quality control measures under roof. There's consistency. You don't have to worry about a franchisee going out and shopping for fresh fresh chips and salsa. You're providing that. This allows purchase power and of course efficiency. So this this is my favorite part of franchising, these revenue streams that you can create along the way as you're growing. So, Edible rebrand. Along this process, as you grow, you may need to rebrand your name. We were Edible Arrangements and then we turned into Edible. Why did we do this? Well, Edible Arrangements kind of just encompasses arrangements. Edible encompasses anything edible. We started to get into TBD products where we were putting them into our smoothies. And we've gone off on a ton of different avenues, which I'm going to kind of explore here. Um, this is meant to show you how the timeline went and how the relationship worked between me and my corporate office and what was going on. So in 2003, corporate, they have a single product line of baskets. That's all we had. We have 12 baskets that we were selling. We were successful, but that's all we had. Their focus was on brand and growing the brand and units. What was I doing as a franchisee? KPIs, key performance indicators. I was trying to establish these so that I could run more efficiently. My team, I was trying to develop a team around everyone so that my structure was solid. Culture, this is huge too. I was trying to establish a culture, a healthy culture, um, where I showed that I cared about my employees. They were almost indirect family members. I was also going to trade shows. I joined BNI. I was working on my break even analysis so that I know how many arrangements I had to sell every day just to break even. And once I broke even, what was taking me over the top and what I needed to do. 2004, corporate office, they start adapting and innovating. We get into the fruity market, which was um, what is it? Fruit smoothies or fruit salads and yogurt. I'm not a fan of yogurt, so I never liked this product, but our customer base loved it, and it was also to bring people into our stores. People would come in to visit our stores, and they could get a fruity or a fruit salad. Licensing partners, corporate started doing licensing with Disney. Um, we had Dora the Explorer. We had contracts with Harley Davidson. We had containers that had all this stuff on there, and this provided reach, and it provided a different customer base, for people with younger children and parties and whatnot. What was I doing? I was trying to get corporate accounts. I established the Cleveland Browns, the Cavs, the Indians. I was in all of their suites at one point, which was phenomenal. Um, I worked out. I was with BMW and Mercedes Benz, where I had contracts where when they would sell a car, their customer got an edible arrangement. Wedding venues, I did all this too. These are all different revenue streams too that you can tap into aside from the ones that I showed you. Um, 2009, jump ahead 5 years. We kind of turn our product from arrangements into platters, and then we start pushing smoothies. They're like, well, we have fruit. Why don't we integrate smoothie into it with our fresh fruit, and we can draw more people into our stores. Um, this wasn't very successful at the time because of the regional seasonality. I don't know about any of you, but I'm a smoothie isn't on my mind. December, it's snowing, it's cold, so they kind of took a one size fits all model, and it didn't make sense. At this time, they're also doing marketing co-ops. I was a part of starting a marketing co-op here in Cleveland. Um, they moved from wooden skewers to plastic skewers, and in this, it was a revenue stream. They provided the plastic skewer, they developed it, and now they were distributing to all the franchisees and partners. We used to have heads of lettuce in our baskets. We pushed this out and we started using foam. They developed the foam, and they were distributing to all the partners. Um, Open 7 days a week started in 2009. No one like this. No one needed to be open on Sundays. I can touch upon this later. It cut into our labor, it cut into my sales, my costs. But these are some of the things that we were both kind of working on. Jump to 2012, corporate. This was a crazy year because enter private equity. Anytime private equity comes in, um, it's good and it's bad, but they changed the direction of edible. Private equity came in, they needed to get their money, and so they put a little bit more pressure on the corporate office to do different things. Production, there was a production overhaul with the cutters. John Henry, we changed some of our vendors, um, and so this was a very pivotal year for us. What was I doing? I was doing grab and go items. They were kind of moving more along the lines of bringing more people into our stores to kind of grow that footprint, to help brick and mortar. 2013, what is corporate doing? Well, this is around the time where that 10-year franchise agreement is due, and things changed. They realized that they needed to shrink territories to bring more people in, to bring more brand ambassadors in. This was I lost 500,000. My zip code shrunk. My sales changed a little bit. There was no more exclusive. So this was another pivotal year, and a time of change for me as a franchisee. I wasn't happy about it. We worked through it. I figured it out. But again, this is part of that evolution of franchising. 2014 comes along, exit corporate private equity. Brand identity is kind of all over the place. They're trying to refine. Open 7 days isn't it's a hot item amongst franchisees. No one wants it. Um, what am I doing? I'm trying to navigate these untested product pilots that corporate's rolling out without me knowing. Auto ship begins. They're auto shipping products to me. All of this stuff again is listed in the FDD, and so there's that transparency. It's important that franchisees read the fine print because these are things that can be frustrating. And then in 2015, this was a really a year that kind of changed on what I wanted to do as a franchisee with them. The smoothie resurgence comes along, and corporate mandates that we do a $45,000 overhaul for just smoothies, which would have costed me just shy of $500,000 to bring smoothies into my 9 stores. I was not happy about this. I was the Alamo. I did not want to do it. Luckily, I did not have to do it because at this point there were people dropping out of franchising with edible because of this mandate. So again, back to the FDD, transparency, partners, and how you craft your stuff. You have to be careful. You want to make sure that you do this properly. Um, this is just a quick slide of those KPIs that I mentioned. These were the things that I was working on. Profitability from your QuickBooks to your P&L review, your COGS, your inventory, payroll, all this stuff. Then your production. What's your setup? How many can I do a day that break even? What's my delivery analysis? Then it goes down to your marketing. Really establishing all these KPIs so that each store again has a template on what's going to make them tick and what's going to make them ultra successful, optimizing that bottom line. So farming for success, vetting your partners. So what to look for in a franchisee? Who is a partner? Who's a partner to whom you will eventually groom into a brand ambassador? Um, what is their background and what kind of experience do they have? What do they bring to the table? What skills? Maybe you have someone who's good with accounting or who was an accountant and they hate corporate America, so they come in and now they run their brand like you know to a T with the numbers. You need to know who you're bringing in and what they bring. um, the capital, what kind of pockets do you have? What can they afford this growth? Can they afford a $45,000 smoothie renovation? Can they afford, every 10 years usually too, franchises will do a remodel where they do a complete facelift to their stores, um, inside and out. Sometimes it's a brand renewal where they change their name and you have completely new marketing material. Can they afford this? Again, I mentioned this earlier. Their ownership style. This is important. Oh my God, you need someone at the outset who's going to be there, who's going to run the day to day. You can't leave your store to high school kids to run it from, opening to close. You need someone there who's engaged and who can really, like I said, build your brand. Also, what is their vision? A 3, a 5, a 7, a 10-year plan, their goals. Again, my vision was to monopolize the territory and grow it out. Corporate loved that. They're like, this is great. This guy's building this territory. Cleveland's going to be a great market for us. We can launch new initiatives there. He could be a sounding board for new products. He can be a test and a pilot. So this is what, again, you're looking for in a franchisee. And discovery days, again, um, up close and personal. I love getting up and close and personal with people and really feeling them out and knowing, how they tick, what makes them tick, and if they're good for us. So farming for success, and overcoming challenges. So Quiznos, everyone knows Quiznos. They're the sandwich maker that made that toasted popular. I loved Quiznos. They came up, the 90s, 2000s. They had just trailing Subway. Subway was still the big name. At its peak though, 2006, the brand had 5,000 restaurants. Today, I think it's probably less than 150. It's probably less than 100. You'll see them in airports in Podunk, Missouri. It's a sad case, but it's also a good learning tool for you as you grow on really what not to do. Foundation, transparency, I mentioned all that. This is kind of an example of that. Um, their fall again comes at the hands of poor management and uncontrolled rapid expansion. I talked a little bit about territories and managing territories. Cannibalization is it can bring a franchise down, and this is one of the things that kind of did that. Franchisees complained about too many locations. There's oversaturation, uh, declining sales, territory disputes. I mean, there's animosity amongst the owners. That's bad for business. They come to you to solve it. And if you've listed in there that, hey, I I can open as many stores in this territory as I want, it doesn't go over well and it doesn't bode well for your partners who trusted you and trusted their really their lives with your system, and this is what you're doing. So what else did they do? I'll also mention too, and I'm not trying to give private equity a bad name or anything at all. Private equity is great. I love private equity. They furnish funding. They furnish they're great support. But in this case, um, one of the downsides of private equity is they're in it to get their money, and sometimes franchisees, in this case, will go to extremes to pay that money back so that they don't lose as a franchise. So the corporate office imposes, these additional expenses on struggling franchisees who aren't making money. So, for example, um, Barrio, I mentioned, has a tequila. It's proprietary tequila. They have a national account and a national contract with them that they enjoy, and they enjoy some perks and some rebates. Well, instead of taking that back for the franchise, they kind of disperse it all to all their franchisees, um, helping them out. And that's the way you do it. Quiznos did opposite. Quiznos, they mandated that their partners buy specific products from them. They inflated the costs, they inflated the prices, which made it even more impossible to make money. Their focus was on turning a profit for themselves, and it wasn't on what's best for the franchise and what's best for our partners. Um, Anthony Farrell, who is a part of Complete Pest Solutions, he is. I have an interview on this at the end of this with him. Um, you know, he has a great approach. It's creating a symbiotic relationship and partnership that benefits the brand. He talks about this. Um, he's almost selfless in a way. He goes to great extremes to make sure that he's available for his franchisees and to make sure they have what they need to grow and to be successful. Because look, if your partners aren't successful, you're not successful. So remember that. You know, the transparency, the FDD, the franchise agreement, the revenue streams. These are all the name of the game, but not at the expense of your partners. So what's the takeaway? Again, I mentioned private equity came in. I love private equity; they're great, but it forced Quiznos to kind of look at their brand a little differently. They had pressure to pay back this money, and in turn, they pass this down to the franchisee, and they go from 5,000 to under 150, under 100. It's a bad look. Um, so again, example of poor management and an inability to work cohesively with your most important asset, your partners, the franchisees. The second case study is Edible. So Edible builds a sustainable growth model. I mentioned earlier how we had, you have territories. Well, we had too many brick and mortar territories in our space. I had 9 in my area, and after a while, they started to cannibalize each other. Example: Lyndhurst and Cleveland Heights. They were 5 miles apart. After a while, after the brand was established, our sales kind of leveled off a little bit, and our profits went down, and it was very difficult to sustain both stores. It was tough. Um, they also, similar to Quiznos, um, we had razor thin margins, making it really hard to make money. Private equity also came into our scene. They changed a little bit of how we did business and our different product lines, and corporate was again focused on paying that money back. So they were doing things that we weren't necessarily on board with, and initiatives were being thrown at us that were unproven, untested. And so the brand kind of it lost its way, and I think it backfired. So a couple years later, Tarek takes control of the company back. We're searching for our identity, and I don't think we've recovered from that. We're down from 1,300 to 800, and decreasing right now. And so you have to be careful on how you run the franchise and what you expect from your franchisees. Now, look, change is necessary. You have to constantly adapt and refine, and pivot. I mean, here's a great example of pivoting. During COVID, we became almost a grocer where we were doing whole fruit. The margins were awful. They were terrible margins. We were not making any money, but it was brilliant because it kind of kept us out in front of our customer. It showed we cared, and it just gave us a lot of exposure. Um, Sometimes though, some of these initiatives, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. It's company pivots, to the smoothie concept, but it's not a one size fits all, and that hurt the brand, and it really hurt the trust level and the confidence that franchisees initially put into the franchise. Um, this lack of success with these different initiatives leads to turmoil at the top, at the corporate level. There's a lot of pressure to succeed, and it's just not happening. There's a lot of turnover. It leads to inconsistency. It leads to operational deficiencies and inefficiencies, um, and priorities change. And again, we lost our identity. Um, their biggest problem was and is still now, I believe, is their inability to pivot and recognize who they were, what's made them successful. Um, I'm only a 20-year veteran with them, so I don't know if I know it. What do I know? But we're a gifting delivery platform, and we're not a destination. People don't come into our stores to um, eat a cookie and a cheesecake. So until they figure that out, and people aren't coming into my store in Cleveland, Ohio, in December to drink a $45,000 smoothie either. So um, make sure that you have that vision on where you want to go and how you want to build it. Again, it's not perfect. There's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, but if you're transparent with your franchisee and your partners, ultimately it's your decision, and you're going to move forward whether they like it or not. Because sometimes, as parents, if any of you are parents, you make decisions that you're being a parent and not a friend to your son or daughter. This is kind of what you have to do in this space. So, what's the takeaway? The stores decline again, 1,300 down to 800. Again, this is an example of poor management and an inability to pivot organically. So at this point, I'm not sure how we're doing on time here, Lauren, but I'm at the point where we could show the interviews. I have the manuscripts on here, which kind of list the questions and where I took the interviews. Um, Sometimes they go on speaking off on tangents. Um, each of them is around 30 minutes long, and obviously we don't have that kind of time because we have a Q&A, but let me know how you want to proceed and where we are with time.
Yeah, of course. So we have about half an hour left.
Okay?
So I think what we could do is take any questions anyone has, and then if folks want to hang out and watch these interviews in the webinar session, we can do that.
Sure.
Otherwise, we can share that deck with you folks to watch later on.
Mhm.
So maybe the best use of Matthew's time right now would be to field any questions that anyone has while we have his ear to bend. So you can put your questions in the Q&A. You can put them in the chat. You can also raise your hand and I can unmute you. Going once. Okay. Therese, I'm going to unmute you. Oh, nope. Okay.
So I just thought I would add to Matthew had a lot of great things to say about growing a franchise, and one of the things that probably you didn't experience in the beginning, but is now, and I know that one of the things that Anthony is struggling with a little bit is the growing of the franchise, because it's hard to get that traction out there, and just you have a lot of those franchise, I think they're called like FSOs and things like that. And brokers like myself, which I don't really consider myself a broker, but and that's just an added expense that sometimes if you want your franchise to grow, you might have a route you might have to take. Otherwise, it's difficult to grow.
Right. Thank you, Therese. Yeah, again, it can be a costly endeavor. I mean, there are a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncertainty, unseen expenses that you didn't anticipate, and you need to figure out. I mean, this all goes back to, again, when I said I could do a series on this. This goes back to your budgeting and what your revenue streams look like and what you want them to look like and what you want them to be, and then where you go from there. Growing it's we live in a different time now. Everything is so digital that it's different from when Edible started in '03. I mean, like I said, we were in airplane magazines, and I did billboards. Edible did billboards where you're looking to franchise, here's the freshest idea in gifting. Those are all the things that you kind of have to consider at the beginning. And it I kind of I parallel franchising a little bit to building a house. And if anyone's ever built a house, we built a house back in '09. When you're going through the process of building a house, it's daunting. I mean, you need to figure out where you want your outlets. You need to figure out the paint color, the cabinet style, the flooring. Like, you need to take this blank board and draw this beautiful, perfect picture of what you want, but you have no idea what that exactly looks like. You kind of know what you want, but it's not all there. And so, when I said there's no perfect format or formula or template, there's not. I mean, you're gonna figure out as you're going along. Hey, as Anthony, I'm sure, did. This isn't working. There's a piece in his interview where he's trying to evolve and he's trying to make things better. And they came up with a new way, I think, to catch not rats, but like other rodents coming in your house, raccoons or something, so that he could safely release them back into the wild. Um, I mean, he started out as spraying, for bugs, and then now he's into wildlife. He's catching and uh, you know, getting raccoons out of your house and infiltration of bats in your attic. So you don't anticipate that. You don't anticipate those costs, but these are the kind of things that you kind of have to think about as you go along. And it comes together. It just somehow it comes together. And if it doesn't, then you know that's where your partners and your team come in. It takes a bunch of minds to kind of do this stuff. And also, what's great too is franchisees. Franchisees have phenomenal ideas because, again, they're in their stores trying to optimize their bottom line, and they're also coming up with ideas. Edible had edible ideas. Franchisees could submit edible ideas that they had, and if it was something that the corporate office thought was beneficial and could work, they'd test it out, they'd run it, they'd pilot it, and they'd roll it out, and then you'd get like a little plaque that said, we we took John Smith's advice. This is what we're doing. And so, yeah, there's a lot of unexpected things, but there's a lot of great things that you can do with this platform in growing. And another thing I should mention too, which I think Anthony may allude to, is the growth can be slow. I mean, there could be lulls in your growth. I mean, you can go from 1 to 5 really quickly, and then 5 to 10 takes 2 years. If you'll notice in my timeline, I went 2003, 2004, and then there was a lull 2004 to 2009. I'm sure corporate was like, what is this guy doing? I thought he wants to grow this territory. Well, I did, but A, it takes money, and B, um, it takes the right framework to make sure that I grow it right. So I apologize. I kind of went off on tangents there, but Teresa's right that could be a part of it.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Therese, for the comment. We have a written question. Jason is asking, are there sometimes situations or specific industries or business realms wherein neighboring franchisees use their close proximity to create competition instead of cannibalization?
Um, Create competition instead of cannibalization. Yes and no. I mentioned that. So there was me, my 9 stores, and then right on the outskirts, I had Menor, I had Fairlawn, Youngstown. Those didn't necessarily compete with me. They did a little bit because they did infringe on. We had shared territories, but one thing that we did, in I guess it wouldn't be competition. We almost joined forces. Is I formed a co-op with them. So we took our budgeting money and we said, okay, well, here we've got 9 stores here, we've got 4 over here, that's 13. Let's throw in, 3 grand per store, and we have this pool of money where we can let's do radio, let's do um, you know, SEO, where we're geographically fencing where we want to be and what makes us unique, and then we're all, to branch or build on that. The markets are so different. You've got rural, you've got residential. The messages are different. The economics are different of it. And of course, you can certainly make it a competition. Because again, you're making your money, you're gonna make your money, but you want to see the brand um, succeed. And so I can't necessarily say that I I took different measures to compete with my neighboring franchises. But I think there's this inherent competition. I always wanted to be the best in Ohio. I always wanted to be the best in the Northeast. You know, I always wanted to be number one for Mother's Day and for Christmas and for Valentine's Day. So that kind of pushed me to do that. But yeah, there are things. Again, you guys all own a business, and you all want to you help each other. I shared resources with, if I ran out of a basket, I could call my neighborly guy, and I could buy some baskets from him. So you have that too. So there is a little competition, but there's also some indirect support. Again, I guess it too comes down to relationships and how you do that. It's easier to lure with honey than it is with vinegar. And I was always the honey guy. I don't know. You never know when you're going to need them down the line. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions about franchising for Matthew while we have him? No? Okay, Matthew, do you just want to play one of the interviews for a compromise here, and then we'll call it a day?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to play Anthony Farrow from Complete Pest Solutions. Anthony gives a lot of great insight. Again, it's about a 30-minute 30-minute interview. So Lauren, feel free to cut it off when you need to, and yeah, we'll go from there. Gives a
We
lot
can
of
watch,
insight.
great. We can watch about 20 minutes of it, and then I'll spend about 30 seconds wrapping up, and then you folks will all receive this slide deck with the interviews to watch at another time as well. Actually, Matthew, before we do that, we do have a last minute question.
Yeah, sure.
Aaron asked, is there a company that you suggest to help with starting the franchise process? That's okay, Aaron.
Um, You know what, Aaron? I mean, I'm a consultant. I do this. I have actually I've been in the process of I'm in the process of trying to bring 3 different templates or businesses to market. A cheesecake, excuse me, a cheesesteak concept, um, a charcuterie board concept, and a sprinkler concept, a service oriented. So. Um, I am at your disposal. We could sidebar, and I can put you in a direction of other resources that you could use to do that. Yes.
Thank you. So I hope you all are able to hang out for about 20 minutes. Matthew's going to play part of this interview as a teaser so you can watch the others later. And then I'll spend about 30 seconds at 2 p.m. wrapping up and bidding you adieu. So Matthew, back to you.
Excellent. All right, we'll go in here. We'll just start this up. Let's see if it comes in. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I am Matt Adkins. I am here with Anthony Farrow of Complete Pest Solutions out of Youngstown. Anthony founded the company in 2008 and has embarked on a journey that's led him down the franchise path, where he has grown to 12 franchises across Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. Anthony, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. And if you would just give us a little summary of Complete Pest Solutions and what you guys do, where you came from, and give us some insight there.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, guys. I've been in the business for about 25 years, 26 years. Started off as a truck stalker, to sales, to answering phones, to running a route, to managing a local other company. 2008, decided to branch off on my own, so I started Complete Pest Solutions, and we've been in business since then. What's nice is that we kind of started in a recession, so that really proved to me a model that can work in a very hard ecosystem of business during that time. So yeah, that's kind of like the synopsis. We are a full service pest control company. So we drive our revenue streams from wildlife control, pest control, mosquito control, termite control. So multi-revenue system that we created, which makes us a very competitive company in any market that we choose to go into.
Excellent, excellent. So at what point in this journey did you decide you were going to franchise, and why did you choose the franchise model instead of just staying the course as a sole owner company?
Okay. So the course that I wanted to do is I've always wanted. We have a great business model. We have a system that really takes care of our customers. In any industry, you'll find great companies that take great care of their customers, and competition that doesn't. And we wanted to offer that to all, people of the public per se. So I wanted to grow it. I wanted to, I had a goal going up and down the coast. We put our first satellite office in Hilton Head, hired somebody. I did find myself going down once a month to meet and manage and go over things. And that takes a lot of time away from your family. So if we were going to open up multiple branches across multiple states, then that whole family side of things would eventually fall apart, because my personality is, once I want something, I go after it with both feet. And that's not a very good personality to have when you have multiple irons in the fire. So I did not want to be the business guy that was not with their family, catching my son's baseball games, my daughter's gymnastics events, and my oldest daughter's volleyball games. So I had to look at a different way to grow. Either I was going to grow, or I was going to kind of stay with the same where I'm at, let this thing ride itself out, and just get to a certain point and say, okay, that's enough. But again, my personality is not one of sitting still. So best way to grow a business that you want to grow, but don't have to really be hands-on all the time, is franchising. So that was introduced to me back in 2018. And really took a couple of years for me to really wrap my head around what franchising was, what does it look like. And again, you do the research on it, but still, once you get into it, you learn a whole lot. So I really felt like that was going to be our best bet. Then that gave me the drive of saying, well, now I get to help other people open a business, start a business, build their legacy, and really kind of fits kind of my tools in my toolbox. I really like doing that with individuals. I love building a business. I love watching business. we're all here, we're all on this earth together, so why can't we just do a helping hand? I felt this was a really good way to kind of teach each of those tools used in my tool belt, but then also get to expand my brand wherever we get to go. So that's why I got into it.
Excellent, excellent. A lot of interesting things there. One thing that I think one of the biggest fears that I think people in your situation have, um, whether they're considering franchising or staying the course with their business because they're comfortable, is this notion of relinquishing control. This is your baby. You built it from scratch. You put countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears into everything that you, all the innovations, all of the everything, all the thought, all the process, all the operational flows. I think the biggest fear is for someone like you to relinquish this control of this baby that you made. Can you share your thoughts on this matter and I guess what your mindset was in this, and did this ever cross your mind that you were actually giving this over to someone else to kind of run with? I mean, what give us a thought of your mindset and from this perspective.
So I think with any franchisor, I think it's really important that they keep, at least for the first portion of getting into franchising, you keep a corporate location. You keep your baby. That way it doesn't really feel like you're giving up that much control, because again, when you open a branch outside of your local territory, you have some control over that branch. Normally you hire somebody to run that branch, so you're still relinquishing that control. But you still own it. Yes, I that formality, but you're still relinquishing a large portion of control, because you're not sitting at that desk at that main location all the time, seeing the day in, the day out, seeing the phone ring, seeing the girls answer the phone. You don't see that in those other branches. So what I look at this as is to get over that fear is I'm helping somebody build a legacy. So I will give up that control for that. But I still have my home branch. I still get to come to my office every day. So I still have a lot of control per se over the procedures, the policies, and then I still get to watch my main one grow. So it helps to ease that fear. I think if you would ask me what my biggest fear is, and it's anytime that somebody comes in and wants to buy a franchise, is did I do enough? Are we good enough? Is everything in place enough? And at the end of the day, am I enough? I think that's more of a fear of mine than giving up control. My biggest fear is someone comes in and doesn't succeed. Really, that's like that is like I know the system's built to not let that happen, because I will jump in with you if something is not going right to help that franchisee succeed. But we all know that everybody has their own kind of personality thing. So that is more of my fear is, are we good enough? Do we have enough stuff in place to make sure that everybody's succeeding? And am I enough? Did I do enough personally to become a franchisor to help these individuals build a business? I think that's more of that's more of my fear of doing this than giving up control. Because like I said, I still have, our largest location. I still have the main brainchild. So that helps. If I think if I would ever sell this brainchild, then maybe, yeah, for a little bit, I'd be like, oh man, I'm really, those policies and procedures aren't really being done by me anymore. I'm putting them out there, but I don't get to see them tested anymore. So
Right.
I think like if I sold this area, yeah, I think then maybe a little bit, but I think as a franchisor, if I can give anybody any kind of good advice for that, is at least keep one corporate location that you built yourself first. And that way, when you're divvying out these franchisees, you still have a lot of control over, the policies that you put in place, because you're gonna try and true them at your location first before you push them out to the franchisees. So that gives you that sense of control. But again, my biggest fear is, did we do enough, and did I do enough, personal development to make sure that each franchisee that comes on board is successful, has a good sense of direction of where we're going. So that's more of my biggest.
That makes sense. It seems like in what you're saying, the framework and the preparation that you put in is really the foundation for the success of your franchisees going forward. Would you say that's true?
That is correct. Yes.
Excellent. So that leads me into my next question, which there's an excerpt in your story that reads, Complete Pest Solutions combines decades of refinement and technology innovation and a modern perspective.
Yeah.
So I found this very interesting, even as it relates to Edible Arrangements and my 20-year run with them. Edible Arrangements started as a gift basket brand where they had 12 assortments of gift baskets that customers could choose from.
Yeah.
Since that time and over the 20 years, they evolved, they adjusted, they went into the smoothie market. We're currently a bake shop where we have cookies, cheesecakes, an assortment of chocolate covered products. We're also in the floral market where we offer bouquets of actual flowers, roses.
Okay.
Can you speak to how this innovation and this adjustment and these changes that you made over time, how it relates to franchisees, and maybe just give some insight as to the importance of adjusting?
Yeah. So I'm always a firm believer that a company is built on a foundation. So you build your foundation. So what are your foundations? You got to define those. I define those as the customer experience with us, the employee experience with us, the services that we offer, and how we do those. So you have that foundation, and then everything off of that is built onto that foundation. So when I say decades of refinement, so just one example, even as little back as 6 years ago, when we would do a raccoon job on a house or a squirrel job on a house, for as long as I've done wildlife work, which is again about 2 decades, you would always trap the animal and then seal off the issue where they got in. Well, as you start doing studying and you start really kind of saying, is there a better way? Because I'm always the firm believer is the less government authority that has on me, the freer that we are. So the Department of Natural Resources, great for what they are, but when it comes to trapping and stuff like that, they're very, very strict, which is fine. I totally understand why they are that way. You're dealing with an animal. Well, we got to learn how to actually set up what's called a one-way door system. So we still have our base. That base is still there for that customer's, experience with us. We just made it better. We just refined how we did it. So now instead of putting a trap on a roof, I'm putting a one-way door mechanism on the roof. That way, when the raccoon comes out, it comes out on his own. It pushes the door open. And then the door closes behind the raccoon as they leave. Now they can't get back in. So I did not harass that raccoon. I eliminated the threat to the home because raccoons do a ton of damage to homes. They carry fleas that will get down inside the home. Now the homeowner's got fleas. And now I don't have to worry about trapping. I don't have to worry about a government authority calling me because a neighbor seen a trap on the roof and is mad. So now, and then it's safety of the animal, safety of the handler. Raccoons in the summertime, spring, summer, that's when they're in the attics with their young. So if I put a trap on the roof, how hot does that roof get? Now, you're not going to always get to every single raccoon at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, Matthew, I think we've lost audio on the video.
Searching new products that
Oh, there it is.
better. So now instead of we have some products that use one active ingredient. They're now coming out with products that have two active ingredients that work very well with each other. One's a quick knockdown kill, and then one's a residual. So not only are you going to get that quick knockdown for the customer, but then you're going to get that long span of coverage for that customer. So again, just refining. There's all kinds of new technology, innovation. There's now thermo sensors that you can use for in the walls. So when a raccoon puts her babies down the walls, you don't have to go around tapping. You can just put this little scanner on the wall and you can see them in the wall. So you're just kind of refining how you do things, how you work things. And the next thing that we're going to be looking at is getting into a better ability to bend metal for soffit work or fascia work. Because again, squirrels, raccoons just decimate homes with that. And then there's another part of technology and refinement coming. It's going to help our franchisees make more money. It's going to give the customers a better experience because now instead of just closing off the gap and maybe it's okay looking, it's going to look like a professional contractor did it, which now enhances our customers' experience with us. So we as we grow and as we do these things, that's how it opens up more gates to do better, but still sell the same base, the same foundation of customer experience, employee experience, and how we offer our services that's better than our competition.
That's great. I remember in a previous conversation we had that you had mentioned, don't quote me, but I thought you said that you had 33 competitors in your region that are all providing the same service. And this type of innovation and this type of research, education, and of course, building on the foundations that you built from your customer service base or orientation, I think really sets you apart. And I think it's a huge lesson to the group today that are looking to do so. A, foundation, and B, you have to constantly be innovating to stay ahead of your competition and to stay on top because everyone's vying for that top spot. And you just shed some great light on that subject. So thank you.
Yeah.
So is there any, so in your run, is there anything you would have done differently?
So from starting to now, there's a few things that I think looking back, you say, okay, how could I have done this better? Because again, I think as business owners, as upper management, everybody looks in the mirror and says, how can I do things better? They always look backwards to change the future. I would have had more of a business mentors. I didn't really have any. I was a young kid. I was 25, 26 when I started this business. So,
Okay, Matthew, I think that's time for us.
naive thing. I was example.
Thank you. I wanted to let Anthony answer that question. So he said he would have had more business mentors, which I think is really, really good advice. So before anything else happens, I just want to thank you, Matt, for coming and talking with us and illuminating so much about franchising and giving so much of your wisdom. Everyone will receive this deck afterwards. How can they reach you if they would like to access your consulting?
If I can, what I'll do is I'll put it on the email questionnaire so that they have my information. I'll also include, how they can get a hold of me and what the best way to go about that.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We always have more webinars coming up, folks, on the third Wednesday of every month, except for December. We get a break that month, including a financial wellness webinar series in partnership with Key in January, and From Likes to Leads, turning social media into a growth engine for your brand on January 22nd. You can review our webinars and other events at jumpstartinc.org/events. As I said earlier, at the end of today's session and in a follow-up email, you'll receive a brief survey. We appreciate your feedback. It allows us to continue to bring in experts and entrepreneurs to teach valuable lessons. Thank you again, Matthew. Thank you to our audience for attending, and I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Great. Thanks, everyone.